Have you ever felt like something inside you is breaking, but you just can't explain it? Sometimes the rot of the mind doesn't show up in tears or screams. It hides in the silence of ordinary days, in the lack of meaning, in the emptiness that quietly grows. Ignoring these signs doesn't make the problem go away. On the contrary, it only makes the soul scream louder, even if no one else can hear it. That's why today, more than ever, we need to talk about the invisible decay that silently threatens so many of us. If you've ever felt this hidden pain, don't leave this video. What you're about to discover could change your life. Today, I'm going to show you how to recognize the rot before it consumes you, and more importantly, how to rise again from your own ashes. You'll understand why so many people get lost in their suffering, and how you can choose a different path. We'll dive into forgotten philosophical ideas, real-life examples, and practical steps to turn pain into power. If you stay until the end, you'll realize that it's not suffering that defines who we are. It's what we choose to do with it. So take a deep breath, open your heart, because this journey starts now. In the beginning, the mind's decay doesn't come with alarms. It's like a muffled whisper that almost no one hears, not even you. It starts with small, daily surrenders. A dream you abandon, a feeling you swallow, a desire you pretend not to have. At first it feels normal. After all, everyone's carrying something heavy, right? But it's in this neglected silence that the soul slowly begins to unravel. Since ancient Greece, philosophers like Socrates have warned, an unexamined life is not worth living. What he meant was that when we ignore our own thoughts and emotions, internal corruption begins. Back then, suffering was discussed openly in public squares. Today, it's often hidden behind a smile on Instagram. The story has changed, but the pain remains. It's just better disguised. And the most dangerous part? Most people don't even realize it's happening. Many make a fatal mistake. They think mental decay shows up dramatically, like a big explosive crisis. But it doesn't. Rot creeps in quietly, like a leak in a wall. First a small stain, then the whole collapse. Ignoring chronic sadness, low energy, and constant emptiness is like giving space for internal decay to spread. And the longer it goes unnoticed, the harder it is to fix. Nietzsche once said, "He who fights with monsters should be careful, lest he thereby become a monster." When you ignore the signs from your mind, you slowly feed an internal monster growing in the shadow of your indifference. That monster is called despair, and it doesn't devour you all at once, but piece by piece. It's a silent war that few even realize they're fighting, until they find themselves in the middle of the battlefield, too tired to go on. But recognizing the first signs of decay is already an act of courage. Compared to ancient times, when physical hardships were the biggest battles, today our greatest struggles are mental, dealing with information overload, unrealistic expectations, and the constant pressure to be happy. What seems normal, waking up exhausted, feeling empty, chasing endless distractions, might actually be the face of a rotting mind. Behind the fast pace of modern life, many people are silently falling apart. And maybe, without even realizing it, you're among them. But what if I told you that noticing these signs already puts you way ahead of most? Most people run from their pain. You're choosing to face it, and that changes everything. Now that we understand how decay begins, it's time to look even deeper. What happens when the pain grows, but no one around you even notices? Get ready, because in the next chapter, we'll talk about the invisible weight we carry without even realizing it, and how not to let that burden crush us forever. There are pains so silent that even the person feeling them can't explain. You wake up, get out of bed, smile at the world, but inside, you're carrying a weight no one can see. This is invisible pain, a burden that leaves no marks on the body, but tears the soul apart, piece by piece. The worst part is that in today's society, so obsessed with appearances, we're taught that feeling is a weakness. So you learn to stay silent, to hide it, to pretend everything's fine. Throughout history, suffering has always existed, but the way we deal with it has changed dramatically. In the past, pain was something shared within communities, families, and spiritual practices. Today, we live in crowded cities surrounded by people, yet lonelier than ever before. Pain, once embraced, is now hidden, treated like a shameful secret to be silenced. And this emotional isolation makes the mind's decay even more relentless. Have you ever wondered how many people who look strong on the outside are crumbling on the inside? That's the modern trap, showing strength on the surface while inner chaos grows unchecked. Most people fall into this trap, thinking that if they ignore their suffering, it will just disappear. But what's ignored doesn't die. It grows stronger in the shadows. Every forced smile, every shaky "I'm fine" feeds the silent pain even more. Søren Kierkegaard warned about this. The greatest form of despair is not being aware of having despair. The real danger isn't suffering. It's not realizing you are suffering. Because while your body walks, works, and smiles, your soul crawls, screaming for help in a language few still understand. This is the invisible weight, a pain that builds up without ever being named, and the more it's ignored, the deeper the wound becomes. Look around. How many people do you know who say they're fine, but whose eyes are silently pleading for help? Social media has taught us to create happy versions of ourselves, but deep down, we're all carrying hidden battles. Here's the truth no one wants to hear. Mental decay is far more common than we think, and ironically, the more you try to hide it, the stronger it becomes, eating away at everything real inside you. But there is a way out, and it begins with the courage to face what you've been denying. If you feel like you're carrying this invisible weight, know this: it's not weakness. It's your soul crying out for help, and answering that call might be the most important decision you'll ever make. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the seemingly harmless routines of daily life may actually be fueling this silent deterioration. Get ready to see what the world tries to hide from you every single day, because only those who recognize the source of the poison can find the antidote. Sometimes the death of the mind doesn't come from major tragedies, but from the quiet repetition of meaningless days. Wake up, work, consume, sleep, and repeat. This automatic routine, which seems normal to most people, is actually a slow poison for the soul. Each day, identical to the last, gradually dims your inner light, your curiosity, your desire to create. Without even noticing, you start becoming someone who merely exists, but doesn't truly live. During the Industrial Revolution, thinkers like Karl Marx warned about the dangers of alienation. Mechanical, purposeless work was turning human beings into cogs in a much larger system. Today, even though technology has advanced, the feeling of alienation has only taken new forms. Many live simply to work and consume, believing this cycle will somehow bring happiness. But deep down, they feel empty, lost, disconnected from themselves. Most people make this mistake without even realizing it. They accept the suffocating routine as something normal and inevitable. They think that constant boredom, lack of passion, and apathy are just part of being an adult. But they're not. They are clear signs that the rot has already started taking hold of the mind. And ignoring these signs is like letting a plant wither day after day until it's beyond saving. Philosopher Albert Camus once said, "There is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide." What he meant was that when life loses its meaning, everything becomes unbearable. The absurdity of existence feels even heavier when routine blinds the mind to what truly matters. How many times have you found yourself doing the same things at the same times without ever asking, why? That's the first step toward the silent unraveling of the soul. In today's world, we're taught to seek relief in distractions, endless scrolling, binge-watching shows, compulsive shopping. But those distractions only mask the emptiness. They don't fill it. True healing doesn't come from escaping boredom, but from facing it and searching for real meaning. As long as you keep numbing your pain with hollow entertainment, mental decay will continue its silent work. It takes courage to step out of the anesthesia and ask yourself, what am I really living for? Now that you understand how routine can become an invisible enemy, a crucial question arises. If automatic repetition is slowly killing you inside, how can you hear your soul's cry before it goes silent forever? In the next chapter, we'll dive into that silent scream and finally listen to what it's been trying to tell you all along. Don't be fooled. Ignoring it could cost far more than you imagine. Get ready to hear what your heart has been whispering while the world around you shouts. At some point, the soul, too tired of suffering in silence, begins to scream. It's not a scream you hear with your ears. It's a tightness in your chest, a nameless anxiety, a sadness that seeps into even your happiest days. It's the body falling ill without clear reason, the exhaustion that never goes away, the feeling that life is slowly losing its color. But instead of stopping to listen to this scream, most people choose to numb themselves even more. And every time we ignore this inner cry for help, we sink a little deeper. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, said that we are condemned to be free, free to choose but also responsible for our choices. Ignoring your own pain is a choice, but it's one that comes with an incredibly high price. The human soul was not made for apathy. It longs for meaning, transformation, and rescue. When we neglect that need, we dive headfirst into an empty, mechanical existence. And though silent, the scream echoes louder and louder inside us. Most people make a fatal mistake. They believe they have to tough it out. That feeling pain is a sign of weakness. So they stack up trauma, resentment, and frustration like junk piling up in a house until it finally collapses. Failing to notice that the soul needs to be heard is like silencing the mouth of someone who's drowning. The silent scream is your essence's last attempt to ask for help before being completely suffocated. Listening to that scream is the first step to reconnecting with who you truly are. Albert Camus said that the absurdity of life is not a reason to give up, but an invitation to create meaning. Hearing the soul's scream is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the moment when we stop living on autopilot and start searching for something truly worth living for. It's the necessary break for something new to be born within us. But for that, courage is required. The courage to face the pain and walk through the darkness. Have you ever felt like something inside you was begging for change, even though you couldn't quite tell what needed to change? That is your silent scream, living proof that there is still life within you, waiting to bloom. And ignoring it would be the deepest betrayal of yourself. Because contrary to what we're taught, pain isn't the enemy, it's the messenger. An uncomfortable messenger, yes, but one that carries the map to your transformation. Now that we've learned to hear this silent scream, an even bigger question arises. Is there truly a way out of this inner decay? And how do we find light in the midst of so much darkness? In the next chapter, we'll discover together how it's possible to see hope even among ruins. Because the soul that cries out for change is also capable of being reborn stronger than ever. Get ready to find the first spark of light in the darkness. Even in the darkest nights, there is a spark that refuses to die. When the mind feels rotten, when the soul screams and the world around you seems indifferent, there's still something inside you that wants to live. This light is fragile, small, almost invisible, but it's there. What we need to understand is that suffering, no matter how unbearable it feels, is not the end of the road. It can actually be the beginning of a new journey. The ancient Stoics, like Seneca and Epictetus, taught it's not what happens to us that defines us, but how we respond to it. Suffering can be the fertile soil where new strengths are born. If you resist it only by defending yourself, you'll harden and eventually break. But if you learn to welcome the pain, to understand its roots, you can transform it into something powerful. The light in the rot isn't about denying the pain. It's about transcending it. Most people make a classic mistake. They wait for salvation to come from the outside, from a miracle, another person, or a magical change in circumstances. But the harsh and liberating truth is this: no one is coming to save you. The only real salvation is born within you, the moment you decide to face the pain and say, I will not be destroyed by this. That decision is silent, deeply personal, but it changes everything. It's a rebirth that happens long before the world even notices. Imagine a forest devastated by fire. At first glance, it looks like everything has died. But after some time, tiny new plants start to sprout, seeds that only germinate because of the fire. The same thing happens with the human soul. Often we need to burn away old illusions, toxic relationships, and outdated versions of ourselves for something new to grow. The light emerges not despite the destruction, but because of it. You can start now, even if everything still feels dark. One small decision each day, to care for yourself, to search for meaning, to allow yourself to feel. These small acts, repeated with sincerity, are like candles lit in the darkness. And the more you persevere, the stronger that light becomes, until it illuminates places within you that you didn't even know existed. Rebirth is a quiet process, but one day you'll simply find yourself breathing freely again. Now that you know there is a way out, comes the most important question of all. How do you turn all this accumulated pain into a real force that drives your life forward? In the next chapter, we'll explore exactly how the soul rises from the ashes and how you can transform suffering into true power. You're not as broken as you think. You're simply in the process of rebuilding. And believe me, the best parts of you can still be born from this darkness. Every pain carries a hidden promise. The promise that you can become someone new, not someone perfect, invincible, or without scars, but someone real, whole, and deeply human. Those who rise from the ashes aren't the ones who never suffered. They are the ones who turned their wounds into wings. Suffering doesn't define you. What you do with it does. And it's in that silent choice where true strength begins. The myth of the phoenix, the bird that dies in flames only to rise stronger, isn't just a beautiful legend. It's a mirror of our own power to be reborn. Many people believe that suffering is a mistake, a personal failure. But the great masters of philosophy teach us that suffering is part of the soul's refinement. Nietzsche said, one must still have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star. And it's precisely at the bottom of the abyss that we find the force to rise. Most people make a fatal mistake. They believe that overcoming pain means forgetting it ever existed, but true power doesn't come from erasing the past. It comes from transforming it into wisdom, compassion, and strength. Your scars aren't ugly, nor are they something to be ashamed of. They are proof that you fought internal battles most would never dare to face. Each mark on your soul is a reminder you survived. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and survivor of Nazi concentration camps, once said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That is the essence of transformation. It's not the world that must change for you to be happy. It's you who finds within your own pain a new purpose, a new path, a new version of yourself. And that version is far stronger than the one who never had to suffer. You can start turning pain into strength with small steps, with gratitude for even the bitterest lessons, with patience for your own healing process, with the courage to be vulnerable, to not have all the answers right away. Each small choice of self-love, of awareness, of silent resilience is a step out of the ashes. And one day, you'll look back and realize the rot that once threatened you was the very soil where your roots grew deeper. Nothing was wasted. Everything brought you here. Now that you know transformation is possible, one powerful question remains. Will you keep hiding from your pain, or will you use it to build the life you truly deserve? In the conclusion of this video, we'll bring together everything we've learned and remember why a soul reborn from pain shines with a light that can never be extinguished. Be patient. Be strong. Your new story has already begun, and it's far more beautiful than you can imagine. The rot of the mind is not the end. It's a calling to wake up, to feel, to be reborn. Every pain you faced, every moment you thought about giving up was just a rehearsal for the stronger, truer human you are becoming. You are not your pain. You are the strength that rises from it. Even when everything feels lost, remember, your soul is still screaming. And where there's a scream, there's still life. And where there's life, there's hope. If this message spoke to you on any level, I invite you to take action now. Leave a comment sharing which part of your soul you feel needs to be reborn. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this too. Subscribe to the channel so you don't have to walk this path of rebuilding alone. Together, we can turn pain into strength and create something beautiful, even out of the darkness.